4 o'clock, starting to see them grow bigger and bigger, which would be kind of right on time. 5 p.m., there we go. They're growing. They're growing here. So this is at 5 o'clock. Scattered popcorn thunderstorms across the area. Now, again, the nature of these storms, if they collapse, these are water loaded. They can sometimes put down an isolated downburst and produce some localized damaging wind gusts. They also could be slow movers and produce some localized flooding too. All right, 6 p.m., ramping things up a little bit more. Look at the dark red and purple colors there. It's just indicating some very heavy rainfall rates. And also some frequent cloud-to-ground lightning is going to be possible too. Here we go to 7 o'clock. Active weather all across the region. Now, it might take longer for this to drop down towards parts of central southern Kentucky along and south of the Bluegrass Parkway. Here we go to 8 o'clock at night. This could be a busy afternoon and busy evening and busy overnight. And this could lead us to some flooding potential as well. All right, this is at 10 p.m. We're going to go to 11 o'clock. Might get a little break here and there, but as we head through the overnight, this is 2 a.m. Still looking at the potential of some storms. Going to go to the 48-hour version of the high-resolution rapid refresh weather model. And Michael Montgomery says, yay, storm chase on the ride home, ... again. Yeah. Yeah, you got it. It's not fun to drive in this blinding rain that pops up. So this is going into 4 o'clock tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock. I want to show you tomorrow morning because it looks like it still could be a bit busy as we get started tomorrow morning. Look at this, 7 a.m. So we've got this front basically stalling out over the area and giving us rounds of showers and thunderstorms, not only for the afternoon, not only for the evening, not only for the overnight, but into tomorrow morning. Starting the day, we could have some downpours across the area. And again, repeated rounds of rainfall could lead to some flooding potential. This is at 7 a.m., which I don't like. No one likes flooding, obviously. There's been some heartbreaking flood problems, especially down in Texas, that we've talked about, and you've heard, of course, on the network news and all that stuff. But obviously, a lot of issues with flooding. You don't want the farm, if you got the corn and the soybeans growing so well, you don't want that to flood out and cause issues in the fields. You don't want this time of the year the creeks and the rivers to get all muddy. My pond out back is clear. You can see the fish swimming, and then it just turns into muddiness and pea soup. So it's never fun to have flooding issues in the summertime. But it's something that it's our reality here with the repeated chances of showers and thunderstorms across the region. This is 8 a.m. tomorrow morning for your July the 18th Friday. So happy Friday tomorrow. But this is at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Notice there's still the chance of some showers and thunderstorms across the area. This is at noon tomorrow. What we're going to try to do after, again, all this rain through tomorrow morning, trying to get a drier time tomorrow afternoon. So this is 3 o'clock tomorrow. Notice things kind of winding down. And so perhaps, yeah, wet in the morning, but drier in the afternoon for our Friday. And then here we go. Our little cheap pool in a box might be overflowing in the backyard after all this rain. This is 4 p.m. tomorrow, and it shows just an isolated pop-up. So I've got it at about a 20% chance tomorrow afternoon, but a higher chance tomorrow morning. So a lot going on here over the next 24, 48 hours. So this is a trend. We'll see if this happens. So this is tomorrow evening, Friday evening. It shows the better chance over central Kentucky and a bit drier over southern Indiana. So just something to kind of keep an eye on there. Now, so we've got a look at the HRRR there. Let's switch over into the NAM 3 kilometer, the other high resolution weather model. I'm going to back this up to, again, time now on our July 17th. We'll look at the reflectivity. and it's not showing much out there. It also has that complex of storms out of Missouri and into Kansas. It did kind of develop it a little farther south for us this afternoon. When I checked this out a little bit earlier, this is at 1 p.m. and notice some things starting to fire up there. So it fires it up a little bit sooner than the high resolution rapid refresh weather model, the HRRR, which could happen. We're already starting to see some cumulus clouds building out there now and a couple of pop-up showers just east of Louisville in Kentucky right now. So this is at 3 p.m. It has a trend along and south of 64 where the HRRR weather model had it more north. I'm kind of buying the HRRR weather model being more scattered over more of the area. I don't necessarily think it's going to be confined to areas along and south of 64 like this shows. Either way, they both show some explosive thunderstorm development during the mid and late afternoon hours, during the peak heating of the day. So there you can see we've got plenty of fuel for these thunderstorms. There's no doubt about that. This is at 5 p.m. And these could be some lightning factories, by the way, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. If you hear the thunder roar, head indoors is always the good old saying there. And the saying for flooding, of course, is remember your good friend Tad, T-A-D-D, turn around, don't drown. DM Smith, thanks for the detailed updates of what is coming for Kentucky. Thanks for watching. All right, we're moving along. This is this afternoon, 5 p.m. Here is 6 o'clock, rocking and rolling across the area. Here is 7 o'clock. Now, this is at 7 o'clock. We'll go 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. It is also showing more weather possible through the overnight hours. Just some scattered showers, some downpours. Let me jump ahead to around sunrise tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. And notice it also has scattered showers as we start our Friday. That was at 7 a.m. Here is 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Here is 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to jump ahead to tomorrow afternoon and see if it also kind of settles things down in the afternoon tomorrow. So kind of a flip-flop day for our Friday. Could be wet to start and then drier in the afternoon. But it also has this trend that the HRRR showed with central southern Kentucky with some redevelopment tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow evening, drier in Indiana. You can see that off to the south. So it looks like that boundary settles over central southern Kentucky tomorrow with a higher chance there tomorrow afternoon. But in general, soggier in the morning Friday, drier in the afternoon. All right. There's our hour by hour. That wore me out a little bit, looking at all that activity there. Let's bring up the Storm Prediction Center because I know you saw some big, bad red and purple colors there. But in general, this is going to be a low threat of severe weather. So the Storm Prediction Center has our region, southern Indiana, and all of the Commonwealth under a level 1 out of 5, so the lowest risk. This is called a marginal risk of severe storms. The Storm Prediction Center is a division of the National Weather Service based out of Norman, Oklahoma. Their one big job is to look across the United States and see where severe weather might happen. So we're under level 1. The tornado threat, almost 0. And then you've got a little threat of some isolated downburst winds. When these storms collapse, they might produce some damaging winds. Frequent cloud-to-ground lightning. Again, this might be a lightning show later on today. And then torrential late rainfall, which could lead to some localized flooding. So we're going to have to watch out for that. And then as we go to day 2 from the Storm Prediction Center, we're under no risk of severe weather there for our Friday. And then Saturday is level 1, once again, with the potential of some isolated damaging wind gusts with that. And that level 1 goes out towards the northern Great Plains as well. All right. Moving along, shall we? Let's bring up real quick the Climate Prediction Center's 6 to 10 day outlook. What a change ridge of high pressure building in middle of next week. I mentioned this when we began our Ben at 10 show this morning. As that ridge builds, it could build heat and then lower chance of storms by the middle of next week. Could be talking mid 90s at least, heat index 105-ish. So above normal temperature outlook for the 6 to 10 day outlook. That puts us towards the middle and end of next week. 2-week outlook. This shows above average chances of above normal temperatures for much of the United States. And again, we might not be talking record high temperatures here, but I'm very curious to see if these we've been kind of near record low temperatures, which is around 80 in the city for the lowest nighttime temperature, then 70s in outlying areas. I'm wondering if we're at a stretch of the longest running day by day of warm nights, which would be the cause of muggy weather. If you have high dew points, you cannot get the temperature to go below the dew point. If you've got dew points in the 60s, you can get down to the 60s. If you have dew points in the 50s, you can get our nighttime temperatures down to the 50s. But when you're tropical and you've got dew points in the 70s, you cannot cool it off even during the overnight hours very much. So we're going to be checking on that data here in a little bit. All right, so that is the Climate Prediction Center. Rain totals. We can now break out the GFS weather model, which is going to take us down to the long run. What I'm concerned about here as we bring up the GFS weather model. If there was a concern of mine in the long run, talking 2 weeks out, maybe through early August, we're on the edge of a ridge of high pressure, sometimes called the ring of fire. We might have repeated rounds of showers and thunderstorms with just a little, maybe day or two break of some drier weather. This could lead to flooding issues. This happened 1993 in St. Louis with historic Mississippi River flooding. We don't want that to happen. Not wanting to even put it out there. But if we get in that pattern, that would be a problem. That would be a problem. And we're going to take a look at the long-range data here. And I want to bring up the total amount of precipitation over. This is through August 2nd. And that's the problem. All right. I want you to look here closely. This is a bullseye of inches and inches of rainfall. Why would this happen? Well, the ridge starts to set up out west of us like this, okay? And then the jet stream is along the northern fringe of that ridge, and we would just be in the storm highway for weeks, next couple weeks. So, and not only the GFS, but the European weather model is also showing that potential of a bullseye from the upper Midwest, Minnesota, down south through the Ohio River Valley, through Indiana, through Kentucky. Hope it doesn't happen, but they're both showing that signal of that ring of fire storm chance continuously off and on for the rest of this month. So, don't put any bets on these totals or anything like that, but there you can see inches of rainfall. Now, this is over a period of, a couple weeks, but there could be some areas that see more of this because of the convective nature of thunderstorms and the isolated nature of thunderstorms. It can put down heavier amounts in some areas more than others, but kind of concerning as far as a flood threat the next couple of weeks. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That is if there's a bullseye of rain in the continental United States, it is upper Midwest to the Ohio Valley, Indiana, and the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Not good news there that I'm sharing with you, unfortunately. Vicky Berger, I bet you like dressing casually instead of the suit and tie. More comfortable, I imagine. Vicky, the suit and tie is garbage. Who likes to wear a suit and tie? Almost nobody wears them. I don't see lawyers wearing them. I don't see bankers wearing them. I don't see anybody wearing ties in the morning. I don't see, a lot of times, network News anchors don't even wear it anymore. Cheers to that. Yeah, when I was done with the suit and tie, I gave it all to Goodwill. I kept like a couple suits for maybe like a wedding or something like that. But those days are over, the old suit and tie. Here's a look outside at sunshine and a few of those puffy cumulus clouds here at the corner of Vincennes and Market on this humid July the 17th. You're watching Ben at 10 here. We've got Mary Ridge from Sulphur, Indiana. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in there. And cutting back to me here. We're going to get back to the forecast, and then we'll wrap things up. There's been plenty to talk about on this Friday Eve. And we're at 10:42. So thanks for tuning in here. Okay, let me get rid of that, and we're going to bring back up the forecast here. So your weather headlines for this July 17th, 2025. Strong afternoon and evening thunderstorms, isolated damaging wind, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, could be lightning factories, localized flooding. And there was one thing that I wanted to bring up that I didn't bring up, and it was, so bear with me here, the convective available Cape for today. Yes. All right. I'm going to remove that and bring this back up. So take a look at this just to show you the juice in the atmosphere already. So the red and the pink colors, that is your, stop drawing there. All right, there we go. So northwestern half of the United States where there's dry air, no juice for thunderstorms, tropical air over us. Storm fuel is what that is. That's now, as we go into the afternoon today, look at the storm fuel that we have across the area. We're talking 4,000 to 5,000 joules per kilogram. Explosive atmosphere. Almost too much convective available potential energy for thunderstorms. So it's like a loaded gun there with the amount of storm fuel that we have across the area. And we got a good morning from Debbie Cheatham. Thanks for watching here this morning. And Michael Burton, like I said before, waves of storms. Michael throwing out the flood alarm last couple of days. And I'm with you. We're going to have to watch out for that. So again, there's your weather headlines. This, again, if you missed it earlier, was a picture sent to me yesterday from Melvin Hardin from Orleans, Indiana. This was a kind of a mimic tornado. These are scud clouds, or what we joke around sometimes in meteorology is SLC cloud, scary looking cloud. These are cumulus congestus. They're down under the updraft of a towering cumulonimbus cloud, or AKA a storm. And this would be where a tornado would likely form, but there wasn't really any wind to form a tornado. So these are just kind of ragged looking clouds. There wasn't rotation with this. They can get very close to the treetops, some of these scary looking clouds, but they kind of mimic a tornado sometimes. But there was, just southwest of Seymour, Indiana, I was tracking that downpour yesterday morning, and it actually did put down a very brief little spin up, an EFU, which I've never seen, EF undefined, meaning that it dropped down so quickly, it really didn't do damage. So it didn't have an EF0 or a 1 or anything like that, undefined. And this is a towering cumulus cloud from Robert Fisher, sent to our Indiana Skies group. Thank you, Robert, for sharing that one. So that's we're going to see some of those out there today, no doubt about that. All right, so that forecast here, 91, feeling like around 100 before you get that chance of storms. That chance of storms is about a 70%. And that UV index 9, very high before we get that storm chance. Allergy report is low today, kind of in between pollen seasons, as ragweed will be later on this summer. Here's your July 17th, 91, ugly heat and humidity and some strong storms possible. We covered that in detail. And if you're just tuning in, you can watch the replay as we went hour by hour by hour, and with the high resolution weather model data for the timing of the storms. Low tonight, 73. Showers and storms will likely continue off and on through the nighttime. You might wake up to some lightning and thunder every once in a while, but the severe weather threat is super low for us. And then our forecast tomorrow, we're likely going to see showers in the morning time and then a drier afternoon for tomorrow. So kind of flip-flop of what we have had for most of this season. 70s in the morning. It's going to be humid, no doubt about that. 88, that high, feeling a little bit hotter than that. And then our 7-day forecast rolls on with upper 80s, low 90s through the weekend into early next week with occasional showers and thunderstorms. And then going into the middle of next week, we could have a ridge of high pressure set up over the area. This could promote drier conditions, but hotter weather. Conservative 95, heat index 100, 105 next Wednesday, Thursday. No reprieve from the humidity anytime soon. And we could be looking at a pretty overall stormy pattern for the next 2 weeks at least. And we saw that bullseye of heavy rain over the region through August 2nd.